Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining the Watertown Municipal Band for the first concert of 2026. My name is Robert Stocks. I'm the mayor of Watertown. The band is glad to be together again to share music with you at Riverside Park. Tonight, the band is under the direction of Mrs. Teresa Yankee Eastraker, who I had the pleasure of working with for 10 years at the middle school. Mrs. O has been a part of the Watertown Municipal Band since she was 16 years old. So about 10 years now. First playing in the horn section and now serving as musical director for her fourth year. Please welcome her to the podium. Rise as you are able and remove your hats to join in singing our national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner.
Well, thank you, Mayor Stocks, for getting us off on the right foot. And let's hear it for his gong playing. But welcome again. We are just so thrilled to be back in the park sharing our music with you tonight. We will open our program with a fanfare titled Temecula Valley Fanfare. It was commissioned for a school in the city of Temecula, California. Composer Richard Saucedo was thrilled to conduct the premiere in March of 2008 with the students there. Featuring a wide dynamic changes, the composer stated that the piece is basically about a burst of energy, and if you've ever worked with children, you know that description fits them quite well. So please enjoy Temecula Valley Fanfare by Richard Saucedo. Our next selection, All Things Considered, is based on the familiar theme from National Public Radio's long-running news program of the same name. The theme was composed in 1971 by Wisconsin musician and educator Don Vogelli, whose music helped shape the sound of early public broadcasting. In this inventive arrangement by Frank Bencresciuto, the well-known melody is first presented with a light-hearted accompaniment, then moves into a pop jazz style featuring flowing lines, colorful harmonies, and rhythmic interplay in the low winds and brass. The opening material returns to bring this clever and engaging setting to a close. Carl L. King is remembered as one of America's greatest march composers, writing more than 300 marches and helping establish the tradition of the municipal band in the Midwest. King composed Hosts of Freedom in 1920, shortly after settling in Fort Dodge, Iowa, where he would lead the municipal band for more than 50 years and become one of the most influential figures in American band history. This march reflects King's gift for combining stirring melodies, energetic rhythms, and brilliant band colors into music that is both patriotic and entertaining. From its bold opening to its soaring trio melody, the march captures the spirit of optimism and pride that made King's music a favorite of audiences across the country. More than a century later, it remains a classic of the American band repertoire. for our next piece came from a simple set of watercolor paints. Composer Brian Balmages reflects, with a little imagination, these watercolors in the hands of a child become a magnificent sunrise or sunset over the ocean, a gorgeous view from a mountaintop, or an image of a supernova in space. The smallest drop can change the pattern and create something entirely new, either with a brush or entirely within nature. He dedicates this piece to his young cousins and wishes that they will grow up with an infinite palette of watercolors and that every drop creates a new, fantastic world. Please enjoy Rippling Watercolors by Brian Balmages. celebrating 40 years since the Beatles and Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play. Here is a medley of some of the best-known hits from what many consider the best album of the rock era. Included is Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, When I'm 64, She's Leaving Home, and With a Little Help from My Friends. This is Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, arranged by Michael Sweeney. Moscow, 1941, was commissioned by a middle school to honor a retiring teacher of Russian descent. Composer Brian Balmages uses one of Russia's most famous songs, Meadowlands, to honor the teacher. The folk song identifies an extremely important moment in history during World War II, where the Red Army, against all odds, defended Moscow against the German invasion. The dissonance in the piece represents the battle. You will hear the bass drum and timpani imitating the sound of bombs, and finally you will hear the triumphant ending. by Count Basie and his collaborators during the height of the swing era. Jumpin' at the Woodside became one of the signature hits of the Count Basie Orchestra. The title refers to the Woodside Hotel in Harlem, where many jazz musicians stayed while performing in New York City. Known for its driving rhythm, blues-infused melodies, and infectious energy, the piece captures the excitement and spirit of big band jazz at its peak. Feel free to tap your feet and enjoy this timeless swing classic. The Blue-Tailed Fly, also known as Jimmy Crack Corn, is a popular American folk song that dates back to the mid-19th century. Its lively melody and catchy refrain made it a favorite throughout the United States, and it remains one of the best-known traditional songs in American music. This spirited concert band arrangement by Claire Grundman, a renowned composer and arranger for band, showcases the tune's humor, energy, and folk character. Sit back and enjoy this colorful musical journey into America's folk music heritage. Byzantine Dances by Carol Britton Chambers is generally meant to portray a pair of Turkish dances. The opening dance is fast and energetic, written in the style of a Roma gypsy dance. During this upbeat dance, the melody incorporates grace notes, while the harmony and bass line incorporate enjoyable counter melodies and syncopated lines. The slower section in the middle of the piece is written in the style of a Zabek dance. This type of dance is often performed by a solo dancer, symbolizing courage and heroism. The dance uses outstretched arms, almost resembling a great hawk. The piece concludes with a return to the fast opening dance. Listen for snapping and clapping from the performers to make the piece feel more authentic to its folk dance roots. again for joining us tonight. We will conclude tonight's program with John Philip Sousa's Riders for the Flag March. Sousa was a devoted horseman, hence his musical interest in the colorful cavalry units of the U.S. Army. Listen for the galloping rhythms throughout this piece. We look forward to seeing you in a few weeks on June 30th, right back here in lovely Riverside Park at 7 p.m. for our second of 4 concerts here in the park. We will be joined by the Lebanon Band with a patriotic theme.